This coalition, in support of national security and advancement, believes that improving marine safety through the reinforcement of Nigeria's current security framework is a more viable and long-term solution than establishing a distinct Coast Guard. It is imperative that this favor is tempered with a deep understanding of the nuanced challenges facing the nation at the moment. Our position demonstrates a dedication to constitutional observance, effective resource allocation, and sensitivity to matters of national security. Establishing a new independent Coast Guard may seem appealing on the surface, but the practical implications suggest that a more integrated, resource-efficient, and constitutionally aligned approach would be far more beneficial for Nigeria's long-term security and economic stability. It is crucial to adhere to constitutional limits by making sure that any organization of Nigeria's maritime security does not conflict with the 1999 Constitution. Although the military, Navy, and Air Force are the only three branches of the armed forces recognized by the Constitution, the proposed Coast Guard bill would legally be an additional department under the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, classified as military service. Adding a new branch without a constitutional amendment could lead to serious legal problems and threaten the rule of law. In Section 217 of the Nigerian Constitution as amended, the existing framework gives the armed forces a defined structure and establishes the guideline for Nigeria's defense policy. In order to avoid any conflicts within the country's security and military systems, establishing a fourth branch, such as militarized Coast Guard, would need a careful legal scrutiny. In the event of a national emergency or conflict, concerns about the Coast Guard legal authority, responsibility allocation, and chain of command may surface in the absence of constitutional clarity. Furthermore, circumventing constitutional processes to create a new branch might erode the security services legal basis in Nigeria, which could result in disjointed command structures and inefficiencies within the armed forces. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen,
would be dumped into the dustbin of history, hearing carefully and meticulously to all of the beautiful observations that you have raised. Firstly, there is the question of duplication of responsibility. The Nigerian Navy is already there. The NIMASA is in extant carrying out its responsibility diligently. And if need be, we have not heard from the Minister of Defense, neither from the Chief of Army Staff or Chief of Defense Staff, that they needed an extension or another arm of the military that will be responsible, of course, for protecting our coastline. The Nigerian Navy are doing their duty effectively, and even if this bill is possibly passed into law without even empowering the Nigerian Army, if the Nigerian Navy, so to say, do not have all of the needed equipment to do what is expected of him, having whatever the Coast Bill and even subsequent extension of the military will not resolve the crisis. But empowering the extant one, providing all of the drones, having the best practice so that it will conform to international standard, the Nigerian Navy, of course, will give it best. And we are looking around the issue of cost efficiency. The country already is in debt. We have a plethora of crises that requires urgent financial need. And talking about the establishment of the Coast Guard will require stupendous amount of money, which means that the country currently do not have that capacity to fund that. And we are also looking around the question of the 1999 Constitution, which is the working constitution of the country. It does not have the room for having a fourth arm of the military. The Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Air Force, the Nigerian Navy is the one that is recognized and approved by the Constitution to be under the armed force of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So having a Coast Guard means that there should be a kind of a constitutional amendment, which also is time consuming and is of course not necessary given of course the current disposition. We are looking around question of course political interference and corruption, and then the Coast Guard bill does not even specify where it wants to be. In some area you see under the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, and then having to bring virtually all people from the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Interior, of course, to work in under one umbrella, which means that the Coast Guard bill does not even specify under which ministry, of course, it also wants to be. So the Nigerian Navy, as we have said, have the competence, the capacity and commitment of also protecting our coastline. And then there is no need as of now to have a kind of duplication of duty. We do not want to have the Coast Guard or the Nigerian Navy taking each other's to court in the coming period over jurisdiction. We have had that with the Rail Safety Corps and of course the VIO, which of course have question of duplication of duties and responsibility of each itself, that led to of course the government of the day to have ensured that all of the VIO moved out of the road to allow the Federal Road Safety Corps to focus on their responsibility. So what we are calling for is that we do not want another extension of the military. What we want is that the extant one should be given all of the necessary financial requirement, should be provided with all of the expertise, should be taken to other countries that they will get all of the needed experience to dutifully carry out their constitutional responsibility and mandate diligently. Having an extension, one will cause a whole lot of conflict, and which as a coalition that is concerned with national security and advancement do not want to have that to fall in the coming period. So we are lending our voice as every other Nigerians, because a lot of Nigerians, not only our coalition are opposing of this bill, so we are also lending our voice that we are opposing this bill, and that the bill which has currently passed second reading should be trashed into the dustbin of history. The bill is not necessary, it's confusing, it's full of discrepancies, and of course in the coming period, if that bill succeeds, it's going to cause a whole lot of crisis which we do not want.